It's quite interesting that this week, right at the time we were finalizing some of the more important parts of this recent video series about how we believe that the European Union is the beast out of the sea, a volcano erupted in Iceland, sending a dark ash cloud over Europe, causing flight disruptions, and in fact grounding all flights, essentially, to and from Europe for the first time in modern history. And they've never seen anything like this in modern history. And what was so interesting about this phenomenon was the fact that this ash cloud, which resulted from the Iceland volcano, only seemed to affect Europe. It affected the other continents and countries outside of Europe insofar as they couldn't travel to and from Europe. But basically, the wind blew this cloud to Europe and stopped all the flights. And some of the headlines we saw were Iceland volcano eruption continues to bring dark ash clouds over Europe. Another interesting headline was cloud over EU for week. And so we had a dark ash cloud over the European Union, confined essentially to Europe, which I believe is the beast. And what I believe you might be seeing with this is the fulfillment of Apocalypse chapter 16, verse 10. In Apocalypse 16:10-11 it says this, quote, "And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom became dark, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. And they blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and wounds, and did not penance for their works." End quote. So in Apocalypse 16:10 we have the rather interesting prophecy about how the angel will pour out his vial upon the seat of the beast. Well, if this is correct, what is the seat of the beast? Europe. Okay, and what happens? His kingdom becomes dark. Well, what did we see? A dark ash cloud over Europe, something they've never experienced before in modern history. The flight disruption was bigger than 9/11, and some people are of the opinion that 9/11 was significant enough to be mentioned in the Bible. This was more significant than 9/11 in terms of the disruption. It disrupted all the flights for a longer period of time, and more of them. And so we see this prophecy about the kingdom of the beast becoming dark, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and they blasphemed God because of their pains and their wounds. Well, we see people stranded. We see chaos. We see headlines such as volcano flight chaos leaves many passengers broke. The airline's losing $200 million a day. People have been stranded in Europe with nowhere to stay. Hotels are packed like they've never seen in modern history. And so there is definitely pain that has come with this volcanic dark ash cloud. It's also worth noting that this vial that the angel pours out in Apocalypse 16:10, which results in this darkness over the seat of the beast, seems to parallel or hearken back to Exodus chapter 10 and the ninth plague that was inflicted upon Pharaoh for refusing to let the Israelites go. In Exodus 10:21 we read, quote, "And the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out thy hand towards heaven, and may there be darkness upon the land of Egypt, so thick that it may be felt." End quote. And so that was the ninth plague. And the darkness in that case was so thick that you couldn't see around you. But what's interesting is that the darkness, this particular plague only lasted for 3 days. And so if this disruption lasted 3 to 5 days or so, then it would be as long in duration as that plague. And some people may say, well, it's not exactly the same. No, but it's a different kind of darkness. It's extremely disruptive in terms of the modern world. And also, people have to think about the fact that if the Lord is going to come as a thief and when people don't expect it, yet there will also be these supernatural punishments. This is exactly the type of punishment and plague that could coincide with both of those realities. That it's a fulfillment of the prophecy, but yet, unless you're looking at it more carefully, you wouldn't necessarily perceive that it's an apocalyptic punishment. It's also interesting that an overhead radar shot of the volcano that erupted shows the crater, and here's the picture. It has a face in it looks like a demonic face, and this was on the news. And so the fact that it was confined essentially to Europe, which is miraculous in and of itself, and the fact that it's a dark cloud and disrupting Europe particularly and causing so much pain to Europe, I believe this is probably the fulfillment.